Okay. Here we go. Whew, whew. See if I can. Oh, I just flipped it. Waiting for people to join. Why do you roll your eyes?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's addictive.
Yeah, it is. Started Blab, went on air. Hey, Howard, how are you doing, buddy? What's going on? What's. Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm just trying to spread awareness about anxiety and start a discussion on it, but maybe nobody is anxious, so maybe I'm the only anxious person here. Oh, you've had to deal with anxiety too, eh? Oh, tell me about it. Oh my God, it is a bitch. Yeah, I even I even have anxieties that manifest themselves, and I won't necessarily be worried about anything at the moment. You know, it will just start happening in the beginning of the day. Yeah, jump in. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm in line at food. Oh, you're at a food store, are you? grocery store or whatever. Yeah. Grocery shopping is the worst.
I gotta just jump in here. Here's a button. I'm waiting for some sandwiches.
Hey, Howard.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting subject. Anxiety, and people that don't ever deal with it don't really know what it's like, you know?
Yeah, no, it's have you ever had anxiety just manifest itself even though you weren't scared or worried about anything?
Yeah. Or like you worry about something for no reason, no logical reason at all, and you like just keep on thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's kind of this idea of overestimating the danger, right? Or overestimating the risk.
Oh, your dog doesn't look like he has a care in the world.
No, he doesn't. He just So do you still have anxiety, or was that something of the past that you dealt with, or?
It's one of those things that I dealt with on and off, like for years. You know, I've learned better keys in dealing with it. Oh, I think my food's ready. Hold on. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, I had problems with anxiety about 15 years ago, and then I met a guy. He was a good friend of my father's. My father's a musician, but he loves to play tennis, and this guy was his tennis coach. And he was like, Tucson, you just got to coach yourself. You know, every time you have that negative thought, you got to coach it out and be like, nope, I'm not going to dwell in that. You're okay. You know, he just gave me a great list of things to tell myself, you know, when I'm having and wallowing in that bad feeling, you know. And I tried it and it didn't work, you know, but I kept at it. And you know, it's not an overnight solution, but you can convince yourself that what you're feeling is just unnecessary, you know. And it's not like I don't deal with it now, because I do, but you know, the periods are much shorter.
Yes.
Hold on. Much better. I'm sorry. I was like all over the place during that one.
You got some lunch, Howie?
Yeah, I got some lunch, you know, but I was actually having some anxiety in there because I was like, I really want to jump in on this, but then it's really weird talking on. Don't you find it weird talking on the phone with somebody in public where they can hear you, and it's I don't know.
Well, but people do it all the time. They just have a you know, headset on or a mic or something, and they talk, you know, on their phone, and everybody's in their conversation and hearing about how much they hate their mother, but yeah, they don't care. So why should you?
I know. It's just weird. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't care. Maybe that's the whole
right.
Thing there.
Who cares, man?
So my own personal story with anxiety, like I've always been a really super creative guy. Like my brain's always going 1,000 miles an hour thinking about different things. And I was fine in general until I hit I guess my mid 30s, and I was like, sometimes I just can't turn the thoughts off, you know, and you'll get it could even be a happy thought, but just the fact that you can't stop thinking about it, and then it can cause you to have trouble sleeping. It can cause you to have trouble just until you learn that it's not necessarily unnatural to have an overactive brain and to think things that you don't have to get all worked up about it. You can actually, like you're saying, you start to recognize when it's happening. All right, I'm just overthinking things, and just put it on the shelf as such, you know?
You got the artist angst.
The artist angst. I think that's why a lot of artists drink, honestly.
And smoke weed, because both of them will calm your nature. And also, I find that, because I have a bad problem with insomnia. I know you know how I'm like always up, always on, watching stuff and whatnot. But I have a journal, and so when I get that random crazy thought, you know, just writing it out and trying to write it out to completion as much as possible helps get me to the next crazy thought, I guess.
Yeah.
You
relate totally, then, it sounds like.
I do. I really do.
And that same crazy thought, though, that's where your next song comes from, or your next painting, or, and maybe that's why I drifted towards music initially, is because, when you're stressed out, sometimes, like, just getting down and doing what you do and getting it out in an art form or in some sort of medium really does help you focus it on a productive level as opposed to, like, giving you anxiety.
Right. Exactly. And you were getting your lunch when I was telling him that, I met my father's tennis coach, was just telling me, like, basically you have to coach those thoughts out, and you have to, literally tell yourself out loud, positive things, especially when you're dealing with negative thoughts, the negative, not the productive, artistic thoughts, but the negative thoughts, of being kind of anxious and you don't know why you're anxious, but you feel like a mouse on a wheel. You have to just tell yourself, stop it, Tucson. This is stupid. It's just not productive. You're not helping anything. Cut it out. And when you tell yourself that enough, because it's not an overnight thing, but if you keep at it, you will actually turn it off. You'll just be like, okay. And I was also telling him I still suffer with it, but the periods of that mouse on a wheel feeling are much shorter now.
I like that. That's a good image, the mouse on the wheel. That's
what it feels like to me. It feels like I'm just going,
yeah. I've gotten better about sleeping over time. Like I would say, like, in my 20s, I had probably the hardest time sleeping, and you got to get over that shit, especially if you have like a husband or a wife, whatever it's called.
Because you're bumping around the house all night, and they're pissed because you keep waking them up, getting ice and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So cool.
I really think that was one of the things that destroyed my marriage, was we were always on opposite times. I wanted to be up all night, and she was 8 to 5.
Oh, it's cool, Tiki Garden. That's all right. I understand. I was just in a restaurant, so sometimes you just can't jump on. I didn't see you were married at one point, Tucson?
Yeah, I was married for almost 20 years.
Holy cow!
Yeah. Raised a daughter and bought a house and did all that stuff, but
how old are you? You don't look at them.
Well, I got married really young, which I also tell people, do not get married till you're 30, but I was in my 20s when I got married. I'm 42 now. No, I'm 43 now.
Without the same age. We keep discovering this.
Yeah.
I got married when I was 25. Well, we got together when I was 25, and then we got married 2 years later. So I was almost.
Orlando, yeah.
Oh, Darryl's back. Hey, Darryl. Oh, Orlando. Tucson.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I can hear you. I've seen your name on here before. I don't know that we've talked before, though.
I don't think we have.
My name's Howard.
Nice to meet you, Alan. I'm Orlando. So you're blabbing and driving.
No, I'm just sitting here. I literally, okay. I wanted to get in on this because I was in the restaurant and I was like, well, I'm like, I can go sit in my car and do this, At least I got the air conditioner.
There you go, that works.
Yeah, blabbing and driving is a bad idea.
Yeah, that would be bad. Cool. So what's going on with the anxiety with everybody?
Darryl, it's your room. What prompted you?
I'm gonna jump in and out because I'm having a bad connection.
Okay, yeah, I just jumped on to say, hey, I'm at work, but I'll be on later on.
Okay.
My phone's going out. All right, see you guys.
Bye, buddy. Darryl, you froze.
See ya.
One of those.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in and out.
I'm actually going to jump out, if that's okay. I gotta get my food home or I'll have some anxiety here.
Okay, well, thanks for jumping in, Howard. That was cool.
It's kind of cool doing a topical one of these, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and getting everybody's input. It seems it seems that everybody suffers from it, like, to one degree or another. Different degrees of severity.
And I think there's other things that are balled up in anxiety too. Like, it's a bigger umbrella than just, ooh, I'm feeling anxious. It can be all sorts of stuff. I mean, depression is sort of included in that a little bit, because I think if you get anxiety, you can actually, it could form like a depression around the fact that you get anxiety. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a sad depression.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they seem to correlate with each other. A lot of anxious people tend to get depressed, and I found that with myself. Absolutely. And sometimes I think I get anxious even if I'm not consciously aware of it, because I've got these, like, underlying subconscious fears and worries that seem to just manifest themselves.
I can totally relate to that. Sonia just joined. Or there's a Nick and a Sonia. Or actually, who's in the room there? Who is that? Amelia. Hi, Amelia.
Was there any particular theme around your anxiety? Like, any specific things that you would particularly get anxious about?
I think, like, part of it was not understanding my creativity. So, like, I get ideas in my head, and then I would get not understand. Like, I think there was something wrong with me, because I couldn't turn my brain off, so to say, which would make me anxious. I don't know if that's a theme so much, but it would be different things. Like, I remember one night in particular, and this was just silly. Like, I came home and I started looking at Facebook, and there was this girl from my high school, and I just saw her picture, and then I remembered us having some sort of strange exchange in high school, and then I laid down in bed to go to bed, and all I could do was think about her picture and how bizarre it was that I couldn't stop thinking about her picture, which sounds really stupid, but I got really upset. I'm like, man, I just can't go to sleep because this, like, damn high school picture of this girl. It made no sense at all. And then the fact that it didn't make sense was, like, stressing me out, and, like, I found out that it's just sometimes a lack of serotonin or something like that. You focus in on things, and as you get older, you produce less serotonin or whatever in your brain. So that's why people get, like, night terrors and stuff when they get older, or all sorts of different stuff. I'm falling into that category. I'm 42, so.
Yeah, I'm 41. So, like, last night my psychiatrist was telling me that it was a bit of a double-edged sword with creative people, because being creative, you can imagine so many issues.
Yeah.
And project so many issues into the future that you potentially get anxious about.
I'm a definite hypochondriac too. Like, I can imagine that germ that you just touched on the doorknob. I can, like, it's I recognize it for what it is. I'll find myself doing it, or being a germaphobe. Like, if I go into an elevator sometimes, and, like, somebody coughs or something like that, I about die. I'm, like, just picturing, I stop breathing. I try to hold my breath sometimes. Like, I mean, it sounds silly, but I know what it is. I just sort of laugh it off sometimes. It doesn't usually get in the way of things. I mean, I'm a bartender, so I'm always working with food and stuff, so I can interact with the public in a way that my germophobia and hypochondria doesn't stop me from being a productive member of society. But it is always kind of in the back of my head. I wash my hands a lot. I'm like, this is sort of off topic, isn't it?
No, not really. I mean, you're working with dirty people, because they all been partying and they're drunk, and and they're spilling their drinks all over the place, and I mean, I imagine a bar would be just full of bacteria. But I can see why you would have, like, a phobia attached to an anxiety. And it seems typical that people that have anxieties sometimes develop phobias related to those anxieties.
Yeah.
Or maybe even vice versa. Like I know there's people that have gone somewhere specific, and they've had like a panic attack, and then they develop a phobia about being at that particular place.
Oh wow.
Because of that one experience. Or
have you ever had
a common one is they become fearful of crowds. That seems to be a really common one.
I'm definitely not fearful of crowds. That's one I love being in crowds like that, and I like being in front of people too. Like any chance I can, I guess that's why I like this medium. I like getting on the microphone. I like being on stage. I used to be in drama in high school. It's interesting that I guess different people have different things. How about you, Darryl? Have you ever had a panic attack before? That's something that's never happened to me.
Yeah, it's
Thanks, Steve.
Oh yeah. I've had them before.
What was it like?
They're pretty bad. I mean, when you have one, you almost become convinced that there's like something physically wrong with you, even though there isn't.
Oh, that's horrible.
Mini meal. I have panic disorder, so the attack comes when I finally relax about a situation.
Does it hit you like a brick wall, like you won't be expecting it?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm beginning to think. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it definitely can. I mean, it can even build up in me when I'm excited to do something. I mean, there'll be something that I really want to do, and I really want to accomplish, and I'm excited to do it. But then I'll build an anxiety over that. So it's not always necessarily like a negative trigger to it,
Wow.
It's like I guess it's like one emotional extreme or the other.
I've had it happen where I'm like having the best time. Oh, is that?
Can you still hear me all right?
Yeah, you're good. It cuts in and out a little bit sometimes, but I can understand you. I've had it happen where like I'll be like in a situation, I'm just having a good time or whatever, and then something will cross my brain, and it'll just be totally like innocent, but like I can almost feel like a cold shudder go down my body, and like I'm like, oh my god, and like why did I think such a crazy weird thought or this? And then I've recognized now, like just to process, so this is what you do sometimes. But when it first started happening, I was like, oh my god, why why would I think something so crazy? Like I'm at a grocery store and like I also had my brain started racing and like for no reason I was buying yogurt, But it's okay. Like I said, I think Toussaint's advice was really good. You just learn to kind of coach it out in your head. Oh, I definitely overthink things. Way overthink things. Mini meal. I like that. It's like mini me, but it has food. It's like mini meal. All right, my food. Speaking of meal, my lunch is getting cold, so I might join you back in here a little bit after I'm done eating, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people with anxiety. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, people with anxiety definitely have a tendency to overthink things, overanalyze, overestimate risks, overestimate dangers, and there's a creative element to it where you create situations that will probably never happen in your life, but you become fearful of those situations still the same.
Hi, what's up?
Look for your both again. If you have the courage to join next time. Yeah, that'd be good, mini meal. Paulo.
You're okay? I like the...
How are you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very nice. I like the context of this Blab. I'm from Brazil. I work in mental health. I work with anxiety. And if that's okay for you, I like to talk a little bit about how we treat anxiety here in Brazil. Can you understand me?
Yeah, sure. I'm open to that.
So you work with that, or you're just an anxiety guy? You suffer from anxiety, or how you came up with this topic?
No, I suffer from severe anxiety and also chronic depression. They seem to coexist with each other.
Okay. How long has this been happening to you?
Oh, probably years.
Okay. And what you do besides a medical treatment? There is any other activity that you are doing right now to treat your anxiety? Physical activity? You do some?
Yeah, it's right now I'm on. Right now I'm on some anti-anxiety medications.
Okay.
One of my medications just got increased yesterday. I've got Ativan in case it gets really bad, and people have been sharing a lot, especially my psychiatrist has been sharing a lot of his philosophy to do with anxiety, trying to ground myself in the moment, trying to realize that I'm okay right now in this moment, in this space and time.
Yeah, I like to challenge my patients on two basic steps when treating anxiety. One, physical activity. I like to challenge my patients to take long walks or run or anything that put your body to an aerobic movement. You know, to speed your circulation, okay, and speed your oxygen, the oxygen levels in your brain. That is something that will help the medication when to stabilize your humor. Principally, your anxiety levels is going to go low. They will be slower when you do some exercise activity, physical activity. And another thing that's crucial to treatment is reading. You know, reading is an activity that I see when my patients start to read some
reading.
Yes, but not any kind of reading. It's not a newspaper article, for an instance. It's not that kind of reading. It's not for anxiety, you need to read books, especially novels. You got what I mean? I don't know if I make myself clear. When you get a reading, a book, a novel, all right, and you get into that history, you get close to the characters on that history, you start to train your imagination, you start to train your concentration, you start to train your brain and accepting another reality that came from fantasy. And this reality you have to to live this reality, not express, to feel this, you need to work some brain areas. You need to work some brain activities, and then you start to slower your brain activity. Same time you start to slow your anxiety. You got what I'm saying?
Yeah. So reading and physical exercise are the two top tips you have for managing anxiety.
Yes. And helps a lot. I see constantly a patient that start a treatment here with no reading at all and no activities, working basically on medication, and when we put some reading and activities on daily basics, anxiety levels came down. They start to experience another things in life, and they got at this topic that you talked to me earlier. They feel like I'm here. I'm here now. I don't need to think about what comes next. I'm here now. So I stop thinking about future. You know, when our minds are concentrated on now, we live in now. Okay. If I think too much about future, I get anxiety. If I think too much about yesterday, what was in the past, I got depression. So I need to focus my mind on now. I need to focus my concentration, my I need to use all my abilities to be here now, to live this moment. And when the anxiety levels are too high, I got my anxiety on levels that keep me thinking about the future, and I stop living now. The world go crazy. My body start to feeling all those feels. I got my heart pumping. I got my hands sweat. I got my stomach ache. I got my head spinning, and all of this is anxiety. So if I focus my my mind on what I'm doing right now, I stop thinking about the future. I stop to thinking what's next, and I start to live in right now. So my anxiety will pass for a bit. But it's important to say this habits, reading, physical activities, they help on anxiety treatments. But I think that the pharmacological treatment, the medication, is important too. You know, our minds, our brains, they work in chemical. We have too much chemical activity on your brains. Okay, and this activity, this chemical activities on our brains, sometimes when you get too much anxiety, they get too much accelerated, and we need some medication to come down to thinking our activity on our brains, to put they on a slower mode. Minimal magnesium. Well, I don't know. I don't know what to say about magnesium in anxiety treatment. I really don't know. Maybe I don't know. I think there is sometimes different types of treatment and different types of anxiety. Some levels we need medical attention, pharmacological attention to use some powerful help, let's put it this way, okay? And other times we can use some how do you say, some treatments more natural. I think that magnesium is on that kind of treatment. It's more like using some herbs, some teas that help a lot. But it's important to say that if you're suffering from anxiety, you need to search for medical advisor to see in what kind of anxiety you are, what kind of what level of anxiety you're all it's related to your life. Okay, I see people that anxiety is a part of their daily basics, so they need some level of anxiety. But when anxiety is too much, that become a pressure, become a heavy stuff in our lives. So we need a medical attention. Well, about not use some medication. As I say before, you need to understand what kind of life you have, what kind of anxiety is into your life right now, to see what to do about this. Sometimes anxiety is too high, and you can do those things you used to do on your basic levels. Yes, cognitive therapy is fine treatment for anxiety. That cognitive therapists they have some fast results on anxiety and depression as well. I used to use a more orthodox kind of therapist. I use on psychoanalysis, but cognitive is fine. Animals is good too. Having a dog help a lot on anxiety.
I think it's interesting how you associated the future with anxiety and the past with depression. Yeah. You know, because I've never thought of it in that particular paradigm.
Well, there is some theoricals, some writers who used to wrote about that. And if you stop to think, well, what is anxiety? I occupied my mind now on things that I only experienced later, on days ahead, or an hours on the future, days, weeks, and that that is something that make my mind work too much, in too much speed, in too much acceleration, and brings my mind on higher levels of anxiety. So if I keep working on the future, I don't live right now. If I keep work on the past, I don't live right now. You see, depression, anxiety is two directions. Sometimes I need to choose what's going to be. I'm going to be depressed thinking about what I didn't make in the past, I didn't do in the past, or I will not live today thinking what I'm going to do next week, next hour, or in a few years from now. We need to live on now. That's why I think that reading is something crucial on anxiety treatment. Because when I'm on a book, I got a book to read. I got this, and I'm going to read. I'm going to stay on that book for now. I'm here. The book is here. I can keep looking on the future. Other thing that the book is good for. I'm not going to be able to start a book right now and finish a book right now. So I'm going to have to wait. I'm going to have to do other things that I have to do on my daily basis. And when I got time again, maybe at night, maybe tomorrow, maybe 2 days from now, I'm going to pick that book again and I'm going to read just where I stopped it. And I'm going to need to remember all those things that I read before. So I'm going to do an exercise on my mind. You see, that's also super. It's something that we need for treat some kinds of anxiety. Also.
Yeah, I guess the reading also helps with the idea of driving your concentration to one subject instead of allowing your mind to just float into, every other direction that could possibly lead to anxiety at the same time.
That's right.
Because if you're reading a book and you're trying to understand what you're reading, you can only think about one thing at a time. So you're just.
It's an exercise because your mind is going to
worry about other things.
Yes, that's right. Well, it's wonderful talking to you. I hope my pure English.
Yeah, it sounds.
But I'm gonna have to disconnect right now. Maybe I can be online again in a few minutes, but right now I'm going to have to see a patient. I'll be back soon. All right. Okay. See you later.
You too. Yeah, you're welcome, Mini Meal. Did you want to join in on the conversation at all, or? So it's I basically feel that anxiety is a product of both nature and nurture. I think some people are just more apt to have a higher sensitivity to becoming more anxious than other people, due to, perhaps parts of the brain that are more hyperactive than they should be. But I think nurture also plays a big role in anxiety and in how we cope or our lack of management of it. When we start having anxiety, it's like we lose the skill set to manage it. Oh, I can't right now. Need to plug the phone in soon. We'll try to get on the computer. Storms here keep kicking connection. Oh, okay, fair enough. Oh, Matthew is here. I've seen you before, Matthew. I've seen you on Periscope, I believe. How are you doing? So it's these are very good. These are very good and promising philosophies. The only thing about a philosophy, though, is it's very easy to understand a philosophy, but it's that much harder to practice a philosophy. And I think been taking notes. This has been very helpful. We'll be mentioning this at my session on Tuesday. Oh, cool. Very cool. Yeah. I've also been suspecting that a lot of my anxiety has been met with pessimism. Like my attitude towards certain things has been more pessimistic than optimistic, and now I'm seriously considering how much of a role that plays in my potential to have anxiety. I think if I can try to push myself to become more optimistic, it might alleviate a lot of anxiety, because as soon as you worry about something, it just very quickly manifests itself into, physical symptomology that you just end up suffering from, it's it be a very hypochondriatic condition at times, because if you're worried that there's something wrong with you, for example, you get anxious about that particular thing, and then you start manifesting strange symptoms, and then you become convinced that there is something wrong with you when there really isn't something wrong with you, or the thing that really is wrong with you is of a psychiatric order. But I think people process. I get a sense that people process anxiety a little bit differently from person to person. I've had a few years where life events have sent living out of control a lot. So now I want to be in control of everything, and when I'm not, I can't cope. Yeah, that's definitely the foundation of my anxiety. The underlying theme is certain things in my life that I feel I don't have control over, that I really wish I had control over. Because I mean, if I did have control over everything in my life, then there really shouldn't be any reason to get anxious over it. And I find it interesting how I think there's a subcurrent, an underconscious dialogue that's running through our brains all the time that we're not aware of, that can also manifest itself in anxiety, and that seems to hit us when I don't even enjoy nice surprises anymore because I feel out of control. Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that. It's really a bitch to deal with, it can be downright crippling, really. I mean, some people can manage their anxiety purely like through meditation and positive self-talk and through like cognitive behavior therapies and this type of thing. And other people need something more. They need some kind of psychiatric medication or psychiatric intervention to help them cope with that anxiety. I mean, people are so different in how they cure their anxieties. Like some people take an anti-anxiety pill and they do fine. They don't seem to suffer any more anxiety after that. Where other people have to learn how to manage their anxieties, in a more holistic way. And I think I'm probably the combination of two. I think I'm probably the product of nature and nurture. The connection's getting bad again. You're sounding like a robot. More thunder, I think. Thanks, Darryl. Looking forward to talking again. Yeah, maybe I'll try out this chat when I can establish a better connection. But yeah, thanks for joining in.